The time has come for me to cake a lobster. This is how lobsters clap. They're like, yay, it's our turn. Started from the bottom, now we're here. It started as a bottom feeder, and now we're here.
That's what Drake meant.
That's exactly what he meant. Guys, I feel like this is record breaking on how to cake it. I just baked one 12 by 18 vanilla cake. And you know what? Truth be told, I feel like I could have baked one size smaller, but it's okay. We had a lot to snack on. Now I want to cut it in half lengthwise. And when I do this, I realize it's not as level as I'd like it to be. So I take the time to level each half again, and then I stack one half on top of the other. Now, I made myself a template. I feel like the template was a foreshadowing of how hard this cake would be.
Why?
Because for some reason the printer didn't work. And I'm going to use that template or parts of that template. I cut out just the main larger parts, and I'm going to use these smaller templates to cut those pieces out of my cake. That was a lot of work for a template. The printer didn't work. And then we did all this troubleshooting. And then I ended up printing it elsewhere. And then it was a lot just for the template. So we should have known. It's like an oracle. Like it was like, I'm gonna give you trouble. Now I can work on finessing all these parts of the lobster. So I'm using a small serrated knife, and I'm gonna round down the top edge, round it underneath. With the tail, I need to sort of taper down the tail because it's sort of lower than the rest of the body. Ah, that was the microphone. I'm gonna carve some ridges into the table. I'm gonna carve some ridges into the tail, and for the head, same sort of thing. I need to round it out and narrow it sort of at the top, and I just keep looking at, well, frankly, really scary pictures of lobsters on my phone. Same for the claw. For the claw, what I cut out is the main sort of fatter portion, you know, where all like the good meat is, and down to its, I know it's not an elbow, but I don't know what to call it. This interview is gonna be difficult because obviously a lobster has anatomy, but I don't know what it is. Claw, tail. I know the parts that I like eating. And now, remember, the body and the tail are 2 layers, so I'm gonna remove the top layer and simple syrup all of my cake. Before I fill my cakes, I thought, you know, I always like to try and match the flavor profile of the cake with what I'm making. So like in my mango cakes a couple weeks ago, I did a mango buttercream. So you guessed it, I'm gonna make a lobster infused buttercream. So for this, I need lobster meat. So Jocelyn, I need your help. Let's get to it. We're basically each gonna get a lobster.
Yep.
And we're gonna see who can pull out the most meat the fastest. Bib it up. This is technically our first unboxing.
This is our first unboxing.
And it's a lobster, not a cake.
Oh boy, this is so weird. Oh man.
Oh, mine's heavy. And now we're gonna work hard to get the meat out.
I'm gonna follow this step by step. Number 1.
I love this. This is not working.
Impossible.
This is not working.
I refuse to waste this lobster. I'm gonna get all the meat out of the gills. I just flipped the lobster juice in my eye.
And on my arm.
Sorry. What exciting thing is happening today for you on this very day?
Oh, it's my son's first day of grade 1.
Yay! Oh yeah, that's a big deal.
He was excited. There were no tears from him anyway.
Oh.
Come on. Yes. Okay. Lobster themed.
Oh, I just splattered again. Oh god, this has lobster juice.
Are you gonna be all right? Oh, that's gonna be your perfume.
Oh.
Mine's cocoa, and yours is lobster juice. Mine's gonna sell faster.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna further distract you with questions. What's your favorite thing to do with Mr. Cake?
It's drink wine. Sorry, that's the true answer. Eat. Mr. Cake is a great cook.
Yes, he is.
Eat and drink wine. Oh, this one had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, stop, yo! Stop. Oh my gosh.
I'm afraid Jocelyn's gonna like elbow me.
There's
Cut to yo with a black eye in the next episode.
Yes! Full piece, completely out.
Look at me. Hello. It's like 007, but less
Less cool. Okay, 7 7 5/8 ounces.
Yeah, 7.
7 ounces, 5/8.
You got lobster juice on my skin.
Sorry.
From?
That number's creeping up. 6 5/8.
Wait.
No, you're. Okay, well played. Should we cheers?
Congratulations, Jocelyn.
You sound so sincere.
We shouldn't have done this. I could have used a model.
Yeah, you should have done this after you came to.
So how does lobster buttercream sound to you guys? I'm gonna save that lobster meat for a lobster salad. Now that the simple syrup has soaked in, I'm going to fill these cakes with Italian Meringue Buttercream and crumb coat and chill all of the main parts. My crumb coat is chilled, so it's time to ice my cake parts once again and place them back in the fridge to chill. So, you know what's next. It's time to cover this cake in fondant. I have some red fondant already colored, and I'm gonna begin to cover all of these pieces. It's essentially every single part of it is free form. You know that I like structure and rulers, and I like, nope, I just kept looking at scary pictures of lobsters and covering the cake. So I covered the tail first, for the bottom part of the tail as one, and then I started to cut strips of my fondant and cover it in strips, and trimmed as I went and allowed it to just overlap itself until I covered the whole thing. Here's something I want to know. Out of all the people watching this video, who is watching how to cake it for the very first time?
Woo!
Right now? This is for you. Hashtag new yo-yo. If you are new here, welcome. And if you want to check out some of my all-time favorite cakes, click here. Now I'm going to move on and cover the head of the lobster. It's like the head and torso.
They have a head and a torso, they just don't have a neck.
You're right, they're necklace.
They're a necklace.
Yeah, and I'm going to cover this part as one. But if you look at a lobster's face, which I don't advise.
They're beautiful in their own way.
Imagine a lobster was the size of a person. We'd all be running scared. All this stuff coming at you and then 2 beady eyes. I'm gonna cover my claws one at a time, as if there's another way to do it. But I rolled out enough fondant to cover both, cut it in half, and then I covered one claw, and I wanted the fondant to wrap around the claws. So I did flip it over carefully onto my sponge and tuck it all underneath and trim it away. Now I gotta start adding some detail, and quite frankly, I don't know where to begin. I could decorate this cake for days and never feel like it looks like a lobster.
Well, they have a lot of detail.
They have a lot going on. I'm gonna begin by adding some details to the bottom part of my tail. So for this, I'm rolling out some more red fondant, nice and thin, and then the tail is kind of divided into like 5 sections. So I'm going to roll my fondant and cut it and cover each petal on its own, letting them overlap. The lobster, the tail at the bottom is like kind of hairy. It's not quite hairy, but it definitely is like fibrous. So what I'm going to do on the 2 outer petals, I'm actually going to sort of slash the fondant, cut the fondant across, and then I'm using manicure scissors the same way I did on pork to create that fibrous look, and then I'm going to do it at the bottom of all 5 petals. The way its exoskeleton fits together, it reminded me of like Iron Man's costume.
Yeah.
But nature. You know what I mean? It's incredible.
Imagine putting this one in the book.
Oh, I had that thought yesterday. I was like, thank goodness I didn't think of putting a lobster in the book, because I'd still be writing the book now. I'm gonna roll out a piece of fondant that I want to add to my head and torso, and I need to recreate that point at the front. So I'm going to allow my fondant to drape over and gather it at the front. And then I'm going to tuck it all under, trim away the excess, and in order to support that point, because eventually it'll just, I'm going to insert a lollipop stick. I know it's not its nose, but I don't know what that is. This point, in a similar shape to the way it is on the lobster. Thank you. It's time to move on to my claws. Now, these guys are quite like sharp. They have little things that jut out. Like, I guess they could just like elbow people away.
Oh.
Did you just cut yourself on a lobster?
Oh my gosh, that hurt.
What did you just do?
Like, they're little, these little things, they have little
To recreate these thorns, I'm gonna use a combination of tweezers and my fingers. That's another thing. While I was making this cake, I felt like a giant because I felt like I had like giant hands with giant fingers because I kept wanting to pinch the fondant into like pointy little thorns, but that's hard to do. That's what Ludacris's song is about, and other people don't know this, only me. Rolling bows. They're like, move out of my way. Oh, okay, good, I'm there. Now I need to do some other things, okay?
Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, now it's time to do some other things. Before I continue to decorate this lobster, I need to add some CMC to the rest of my red fondant. And the reason I'm doing this is everything else I'm gonna sculpt now will only be made out of fondant. So I just want it to be a little sturdier and be able to hold up its shape. It's time to sculpt the inner part of the claw. So like the claw, one part is much bigger, and then it's like, imagine my hand was a claw.
Okay, got it.
Right? Yeah, what can I say? I sculpted it, I cut it to fit. I also used my tweezers on the inner part to make it look rough, and then I just sort of attached it to the claw. Now this lobster can clap. Do the lobster clap. Let's do the clap. Let's do the lobster clap. The lobster clap. I'm on fire today. Which reminds me, we have not yet debuted our album, Jocelyn.
It just keeps taking a backseat to these cakes, I tell you.
You know what I'm saying? Now I need to sculpt, this is literally what I wrote in my notes, because I don't know what to call it. The part of the arm that attaches the claws to body. But that's what I'm making. So I'm gonna basically just take some of my red fondant, roll it into like sort of thick tubes, and then sculpt it with my hands. And once again, there's some more pinching involved for those spikes. And I used a sculpting tool just to mimic, like I said, all I did was keep looking at scary pictures of lobster. I knew I should have made the 8 legs first and got them out of the way, but I just kept procrastinating because I knew it was going to take a long time. I rolled a piece of my fondant into a ball, and then I cut it into 8 like pie slices, and here we go. So this is how I'd explain it. I rolled my fondant into a tube, and then I used a small cell stick, which is a sculpting tool that's just like, it's like a tiny little rolling pin. It's like the size of a bamboo skewer, but
we didn't see it yet.
Thank you. So I made an indent where all the joints of its leg are, right? On one side of the joint, I sort of thinned out the fondant with my fingertips, and then on the other side, I pushed that tube up against it, because everything, it's like an Iron Man suit. I sort of thinned out the end, you know, like a teardrop. And then I cut the claw open with a scissor. And then I used this tool in my kitchen that I don't even know where I got it, to pinch the inside of these mini claws. And that's what I did to make the tiny claws look rough. And I did that 8 times. That was 1. So now imagine I explained it 8 times, like over and over. Can we just repeat this, like on a loop? Now I have 8 completed lobster legs.
Woo! Let's clap, Cody.
Thank you, I appreciate
job,
it.
yo.
I appreciate it from the audience. Thank you very much, I worked hard. Oh, these notes are so helpful, and they really dictate how I felt making this cake. Make part between head and body. That's what I'm making next. So what I need to do is roll out a sheet of fondant, and then I brushed on some clear piping gel at the base of the torso, and I wrapped a strip of fondant around it, okay? The strip was a little too thick, so I needed to cut it, but I didn't want to rip it off. So what I did is I just put like a circle cutter underneath to support it and cut up against that. And then I realized, looking back at the scary pictures, I had missed one overlap on the tail. Like I was short one shell, I don't know. One of those. So I'm just gonna use a little more fondant and add another layer onto my tail. There's gonna be some like lobsterologist who gets really mad in the comments of this video.
What?
I don't know, somebody who studies lobsters. Yolanda clearly hasn't studied lobsters, and she isn't fit to make a cake to look like a lobster, because I have no idea what any of the parts are called. And I'm sorry. I need to recreate the texture, because that part of the lobster is also like fibrous or hairy. Yeah, if you are the lobsterologist of planet Earth, start your essay now. So now we need to address the fact that lobsters have like 2 long antennae, but then they have like 4 little ones that are always like right here. I don't know how it's not blocking their vision. I have no idea. I'm gonna make those parts. So for the long antenna, I am using a thick floral wire, and to texture it, I used a ribbed rolling pin that I had. So I was rolling on a rolling pin. And then at the base of the antenna, I'm just gonna add 2 sort of thicker tubes of fondant, because when I looked at the scary lobster face, you could tell it comes out of like something. And then for the smaller, I'm using a thinner floral wire. I find it easiest to roll my fondant into tubes and then feed the wire through the tube and then roll it between my fingertips and the surface and texture it on the same ribbed rolling pin.
I thought those were part of their mouth.
Is that their mouth? So that's like it has 4 tongues?
Yeah.
Lobsterologist, please. Yeah, I need you to add 6 more paragraphs to your essay. So now, oh, eyeballs.
Here's a question, Yo. Do lobster eyes have catch lights?
No, I don't think so.
They're just dead and black.
They were, I mean, they're just, I feel like you'd lose the catch light in your eye after you were cooked.
Yeah,
Is that too real? Is that too real for you? Because maybe the live ones do. They're out there throwing bows. They're like, yeah, but no. All right. So now it's time to paint this lobster. I put out like a whole array of every type of red I had and then decided to paint it orange because it's quite bright. That's actually what I did. So I painted the entire surface, everything except the eyeballs, with orange. Now I need to speckle this lobster cake, and for this I'm using copper.
Who knew?
Who knew? I want this paint to be a bit thicker than my orange was. And then I also want to have just paper towels nearby so I can dip my brush in the paint and dab off the excess before I speckle the cake. So yeah, just keep painting your lobster until it looks good. I don't even know how to explain what I did.
Until it looks lobstery?
Until it looks lobstery, yeah. Oh, wait! Paint your eyeballs! Once you're happy with your lobster, you can assemble it, of course, on a silver platter on a bed of lettuce. And I'm mostly happy about this because I get to sing, I wanna lay you down on a bed of lettuce. Yeah, so I'm going to have my silver platter, bed of lettuce. I'm gonna carefully pick up the main body of the lobster, lay it on top. Then I'm going to add the jumbo claw. These are some meaty claws. You got big claws.
You got big claws.
And of course, the beady eyes and the antenna and the tongue antenna food grabbers. Whatever those are. Oh, guys, I have made a lobster cake before. Orhan, we need to show the audience. This lobster is 16 years old.
What? See a little progress, Kiwi?
Yeah, they look slightly different, I think. It's a bit better. Just a bit. Classic tees and hoodies are back for the fall and they are on sale this week. Like this Got Cake hoodie I'm wearing right now. There's a link in the description below. Click one up. Remember that?
God, you're so
It
dry.
never worked. Maybe the new viewers will like it. Make sure to check out our newest compilation over on Step by Step. It's the ultimate ooey gooey highlight reel. We're really gonna highlight those ooey gooey moments.
I think we're good.
Yay!
That's enough.